What is going on YouTube? It is I, Lucius, and welcome to a random little video because Dead by Daylight dropped the developer update for the upcoming PTB, and I want to go over it because I read it and I have a few things to say about it. And I also just want to update people. So, this PTB, upcoming PTB, will obviously have the new chapter, which we don't know anything about yet. Or not anything specific, and it's also not stated in here, so we're gonna wait that one out, but it does have some new other interesting things. The first one is the anti-slugging feature, the slugging reduction update. So I will just go over the points as they are stated here and give my opinions on it afterwards. So, for the slugging, what they're gonna do is if a survivor is left in the dying state for a total of 90 seconds during a match, they gain the ability to pick themselves up after fully recovering. I would say this is fair, this is fine. I don't really have much of an issue with this point. If anything, I feel like they could even lower this a bit further to like 70, maybe 60. That's kind of pushing it, but like 70 I feel like would still be reasonable. Because if you're slugging someone on the ground for 70 seconds in one go, at that point you deserve to lose the situation. That is obviously assuming that, like, if you pick yourself up or if you get hooked, the progression for the dying state self-pickup resets for the next time. If it doesn't, then I would say 90 is a fair number. So, add the option to enable Add the option to enable or disable this mechanic in custom games. I don't think anyone out there is gonna be mad by the fact that you can choose if you want this on or off during custom games. Quickly putting in my mouse. There we go. Don't perks enable that enable you to recover from the dying state. Boon exponential. Blah 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 blah. Will continue to function as before without needing this requirement, obviously, but to prevent any worries, they obviously have to state it. Gradually increase crawling speed for survivors who are left in the dying state. Perfectly fine. You can see the difference here. Here, this is just like crawling speed when you just get knocked down. And this is crawling speed when you've been down for a time. It's not a massive increase. I feel like they could even ramp it up further. It's a nice little bonus. But now we get to a line that I have a problem with. Added the ability for survivors to recover while crawling. Recovery now occurs passively with no need to hold a button. This last part, perfectly fine. It's just quality of life because, let's be honest, holding a button, removing the need to hold a button is not exactly an interesting gameplay mechanic, so it's just a nice quality of life. But this part is where I do draw an issue. Added the ability for survivors to recover while crawling, and you can see it here. Right? You already start recovering before you're even down. That's like the one issue with this, but they can put a small buffer on it and then that's fine, so I don't have an issue with that. But look at this, right? He's slapping, you're crawling already at this point, which is like 8%, 10%, 8% recovery. The killer is still in the weapon wipe animation effectively, and you're already crawling away while you're also recovering. I understand the idea and I get where it's coming from, but this is a very problematic thing. For the very simple reason, right, the instant recovery, that's obviously with this one, with the passive recovering, with the buffer, there needs to be a buffer for that to prevent power struggle, flip-flop situations, etc. To prevent those from going out of hand, but the ability to recover while crawling, again, power struggle, flip-flop. There are some other situations, but this is the main issue where you can create some very unfair situations, especially in combination with some other perks and teammates especially. I don't think it's gonna be a good thing if they add this in. I think this might be a serious issue, especially if you have people swarming with like flashlights or something. Like the killer is forced to slug at that point, and you can just freely crawl to wherever the fuck you want while recovering. And then if you also have like Unbreakable or Boon Exponential, that's gonna be too much. That's gonna be way too much. I don't think this is gonna be added into the live release of this update if it ever comes to the live. And then again with this part, put a small buffer on it and you're fine. No one is gonna bat an eye at this. Obviously updated several survivor and killer perks to account for these changes. I'm assuming that's like Undying, Boon Exponential, maybe Soul Guard has like a clause of like maybe, I don't know. And then for Killer, like Knockdown, I think. The perk has been changed, I'm not fully sure. We'll see, we'll have to see. There's no specific things. So the death notes for this. When it comes to slugging, we know it can be frustrating if you are on the receiving end of it too often or for too long. Very true. Slugging is just very boring. But we also know that sometimes it's a smart move. Also very true. As a killer, sometimes you're even forced to slug, right? For example, if a survivor goes down in the open and there's like 2 other survivors with flashlights swarming, you're not gonna pick up because you're just gonna basically shoot yourself in the kneecap. This update system acknowledges this, allowing the killer to slug occasionally when they feel like it's the right call. Good, but will eventually kick in and swing in the survivor's favor if slugging is used excessively. Now this last part, if slugging is used excessively, makes me go back here to the 90 seconds and wonder if this is regarding just 1 down when you're up again, it resets, or because this wording makes it more sound like 90 seconds over the entire game. If that's the case, then 90 seconds is fine, maybe up it to 100. If it's when you're down into 70, that's my opinion. A big part of this is also about making the experience of being slugged more pleasant, as much as being slugged can be, at least. The recovery changes and crawling speed will give you a bit more agency when downed, so you aren't just holding a button and waiting for someone to come save you. Which is good, but I do think they're going slightly overboard with that change. But we'll see when the P2P goes live. Then we have another one, a major one. Tunnel reduction update. And we're gonna be here for a minute. When a survivor is hooked, their hook status is hidden from the killer. When they're unhooked, there is no notification, and their hook status isn't revealed immediately. Now, I don't fully understand, if I'm being honest, what they're saying here, because when the survivor is hooked, their hook status is hidden, so you do not see that they are hooked. But then, when they are unhooked, their hook status isn't revealed immediately. But the hook status was already not shown. So how can it reveal the hook status when it wasn't shown? Maybe I'm misunderstanding here. But the part that I do understand, there is no notification when they are unhooked. And I think this is a bad change. First of all, this has been part of the killer gameplay core since the very beginning, which changing that like such a drastic essential detail is not gonna end up well. I can tell you that much. But on top of that, it's just so dumb and pointless. Make your choice. Floods of Rage. And the plethora of other perks that activate upon a survivor being on. Axe Devour Hope. Right? You hook someone, you walk away, they get unhooked, you immediately get a token. You immediately know someone is being unhooked. There are so many ways to just ignore this part of the quote-unquote tunnel prevention that this just does nothing for... Like, if you want to tunnel, you run Make Your Choice or Floods of Rage or whatever. You know that they're being unhooked immediately. Now, of course, at the bottom here it says updated several survivors and killer perks to account for these changes, but I highly doubt something like, say, Make Your Choice will be changed for that. So, it's just not a good change. It's so easy to work around it, and if you don't work around it, you're just actively being hindered for no good reason. Purely because you're not willing to sacrifice a perk slot to circumvent this. This is a bad change. Obviously, this is disabled once all generators are completed. Sure. I appreciate the fact that they are disabling stuff so that the endgame is fair. Unhooked survivors gain the following effects for a limited time. Haste, Endurance, and Elusive status effects. I'm assuming these are still about like 12 seconds. Which is, I think, the time it is right now. Elusive we'll get to in a moment. No collision with other players, both killer and survivor. Wonderful. I hate it when someone unhooks a survivor and the unhooked survivor body blocks with endurance, and I'm just sitting there like a fucking duck, being like, okay, can I move? No, I cannot move past you. So, good change there. No collision with survivors also prevents like body blocking, which is like sandbagging, which is also a very nice one. So no complaints there. Immunity to killer instinct and sees the killer's aura nearby. I'm assuming the letter is like if the killer is within, I don't know, 20 meters of you, you can see their aura. This is... I'm perfectly fine with this. I don't really see much of an issue with this, so that's perfectly fine. These effects are lost when the affected survivor performs a conspicuous action, obviously, as with everything that's survivor protection. As soon as you're in a position where you're actually participating in the game, normally disables. All these effects except haste and endurance are disabled once the generators are complete. Which it is bothersome that the no collision disables. I feel like that one should just be permanently a thing, just like the haste and endurance. Because that can create for some very unfair endgame situations where like the exit gates are open, they unhook and you're just being forced to hit the unhooked survivor so they all get out for free. Just remove the collision in endgame as well, please. The other one's just a bit disappearing, like no elusive, no immunity to killer instinct, and killer aura reading. Fine. Not much of an issue there. So, overall, pretty decent. Don't really have any major complaints on this one. I think the unhook bonuses that you get are perfectly fine, good additions. Added a unique effect to killer hook state UI that indicates the last survivor they hooked. Nice in paper. Makes it easier to not accidentally tunnel someone, but also makes it easier for people who want to tunnel to be like, aha, you are the one I hooked last time, I will tunnel you out now, because I'm sure you are the one I hooked. Because there are still the rare situations where two people have very similar cosmetics, and then you're in a point where you're like, wait, did I hook this one? Did I not hook this one? And then if you don't want to hook one, wonderful, he will be like, ah, I already hooked you, don't want to do that again. But also makes it so like anyone who does want to tunnel now has a free sign of like, hey, this is the person you want to tunnel. So I don't think it's gonna do much. After completing a unique hook, so the same survivor is not hooked consecutively, killer gains the following benefits. Bonus damage to the next generator kick. This one is really gonna be determined by what the number is on it. Because I think normal kick power is like 5% of the gen. So if they double it to like 10%, that's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. I feel like they would need to put it to like add 10% to it, so like buff it to 15% kick. Then it would be worth it. If it's like fucking Pop Goes the Weasel base kit and then buff Pop further, that would be insane. Temporary haste status effect. And I don't know what DPD has with haste nowadays, but sure. Temporarily reveals survivors, think base kit, barbecue, and chili, that have less or equal hook states to the hooked survivor. Now, I really like this change because it does kind of go in hand with this change here, right? Not knowing when someone is unhooked. Right, normally before you would be like, okay, do I know where someone is, yes or no? If yes, go for that one. If no, I am obviously gonna kind of vulture the hook to be like, you unhook, now I can go for this for guaranteed pressure onto survivors. Having this kind of makes it to where that issue isn't as big anymore, because you'll always have a target to go for if you kind of spread out the hooks. Which I like, because less or equal to, this part, or equal hook states is very essential. If it was just less, not so good, but it's also equal, so that can be very effective. Because this will make it so that you almost always have like something to go for, someone to go for, so you don't really have as much of a reason to vulture the hook that you just put someone on, which I think is a great change. So my props for this one, very nice one, for specifically this condition as well, to make it a very fair, balanced, but very effective bonus. So my props to behavior, wonderful little change here. And then the most hilarious thing, these effects are slightly lessened for the Blight, the Dark Lord, the Ghoul, the Hillbilly, and the Nurse. Why is Dark Lord here? Right, because like, the others I get, right? Nurse can blink across the map, and has, like, she can blink to you, hit you, wait 3 seconds, blink to you again, you're down, right? So, obviously giving her less haste, and less time for survivor feel. Makes sense. Same goes for Blight, same goes for Ghoul, who could just jump across the map and then get a free hit. Hillbilly has the insta down. Why is the Dark Lord here? Is it purely because he can teleport with the bat? Because at that point, why isn't the Dredge here? Is it because the Dark Lord has a follow-up with like the dog or the vampire form? Because at that point, Hux exists, right? Singularity. The Unknown can make use of this. Springtrap can make use of this ridiculously well. I don't understand why the Dark Lord is here. I get the idea what they're going for, where it's like, hey, these guys are a bit too strong to have this at the same value. Downgrade it slightly, but I don't think the Dark Lord belongs in this list. Because there are so many other killers who can also cross the map very quickly. If anything, Springtrap deserves to be here more than the Dark Lord, because the Dark Lord can go into bat form, teleport to the window, which has a very massive tel, then he has to shapeshift into wolf or vampire form, hit you once, chase back up to you again, vampire or wolf forms damaging abilities on cooldown, so then they have to wait that out or switch to the other one. It's very situational. It requires high skill to achieve that, whereas with Springtrap, you teleport across the map, you are, especially if you're Glitch Trap, you teleport across the map, you are undetectable, so you're stealthed, you throw your hatchet at someone, stab them in the back with the hatchet, walk up, and basically have them semi-insta down. Again, I don't understand why the Dark Lord is here, but sure. These effects are disabled once all generators are completed. Makes sense, make the endgame just equal, fair, no bullshit. I appreciate that. Added new effect that disincentivizes tunneling. If a survivor dies before 6 total hook states, all remaining survivors gain a repair speed bonus for the rest of the trial. This is a very tricky one, because if the repair speed bonus is like 5% faster, 10% faster, the repair speed bonus really doesn't mean much, and most people would still tunnel out because it's meaningless. But if it's like 50% or something, right? If it's too high, then you have the issue where, like, because sometimes you just get pushed into the situation where you have to sacrifice someone before 6 hook stages, right? If you constantly keep running into the same survivor because that one survivor just doesn't know how to hide and the other ones are playing fucking Gmod hide and seek or prop hunt or whatever, basically you're gonna be forced to have someone die before 6 total hook states, and that's just like being punished because survivors mess up is not a good thing, and killers are already struggling right now because Survivor is the strongest, not the most fun, but it's definitely one of the strongest it has ever been. So this, I would say lower it to 5, and I think it's fine. I think 6 is like slightly too punishing. 5 would be fine. That's my opinion, but we'll see. If the survivor that was last hooked is sacrificed or killed, generators cannot be requested or blocked. I don't know if this means for the entire game or for long duration. Because if... This is a very dangerous one as well, because, right, sometimes you get into a position where, once again, like I said, if one survivor just keeps running into you, right, let's say you hook someone, you hook someone else, the first person that you hooked came across your path again, whatever, put them on death hook. If that for some reason happens, you are now being actively punished because that survivor can now stand in front of your path at all times, and don't you dare hook them because you just last hooked them. And now if you hook them, they will die, which means generators will no longer be damageable by you for the rest of the game. That's super dangerous. Alternatively, right, there is a perk called Shoulder the Burden. Someone unhooks, takes their hook stage. How does this interact with that? Because that can create the dumbest shit ever. Right. Now, obviously, in like most of the matches, you won't really see these niche cases. But when they do, those situations are 10 times more frustrating than being tunneled. And the problem should be fixed, not moved. So this is kind of a very risky one. Like late game, if it's like 3 survivors left and then there's like 3 gens left, and you kill someone by hooking them twice in a row, at that point it's 1 killer versus 2 survivors at 3 gens. Whatever, right? That doesn't really matter much. But like early game, this is very, very, very risky. I could be worrying for nothing. Could be blowing it up. We'll see. I'm waiting the P2B for that. But I do see red flags here that should be looked out for if it is gonna happen, yes or no. Added the option to enable or disable these new mechanics in custom games, and then updated several survivor and killer perks to counter these changes. Once again, that's perfectly good to have that as an option for custom, and then this will have to wait. The Death Note. It's no secret that tunneling can be seen as an efficient way to play for killers. Very true. While this can be true, it's also true that results of this can be frustrating for survivors, leading to trials ending too quick for some, while leaving others to fend for themselves in a match that is now more difficult. Which is very true. So it's really in a situation where it's like, this requires some massive, intense fine-tuning to work properly, to not flip the situation around to where it goes too far in the other side, or where it becomes still obsolete. Oh, my bad. So we'll have to wait, but it is a risky change. The intent here is for both roles to feel the benefits and incentives that come from spreading hook states. On the one end, survivors have better opportunities to evade and reset after unhooks, while also limiting those tough situations where losing a survivor too quickly causes things to go south quickly and snowball. On the other hand, killers are able to apply more map pressure to push back against efficient teams, covering ground post-hook and strengthening general aggression. Again, against efficient teams, this means nothing. Efficient teams don't care. You need a massive fucking bonus to the next generator kick for efficient teams to care about this. So it's all mostly in line with what the dev note is saying they are trying to achieve, but there's a lot of caveats that make it not as black and white as they are hoping. Elusive status effect. Very simple, add a new status effect that silences grunts of pain and represses survivor aura, pools of blood, and scratch marks. So basically, which the dev note here states as well, it's basically your stealth mode. You're undetectable for killers, but then for survivors. Perfectly good introduction. They're saying they're gonna make it into just the base kit for now, but then they are planning to add it into perks as well to make that more easy to understand and play around with that a little bit. So good introduction. The tome's very simple. Effective tome update. Tome menu to feature new tome and accompanying lore alongside each chapter release. It's a weekly unlock instead of like behind challenges. So basically, new chapter comes out, tome will have new lore. The lore is unlocked in pieces every week for free. Just a good addition. No changes. No. I don't know why they call this a medium update, but just a nice update. But then we have the shape. Okay, the shape. Replaced Evil Within, so technically his ability is completely reworked, with two modes that can be toggled with the press of a button. We have Stalker mode, 4.2 meters per second, which is 105. Yeah, that's 105%, 105 movement speed, undetectable, and you can stalk survivors. It's basically tier 1 Myers. And then Pursuer mode, 4.6 meters per second, so 115. 24 meter tear radius, increased vault speed, bonus launch range, break speed, and stun recovery, but you cannot stalk. So this is kind of an in-between of tier 2 and tier 3 Myers in the old system. Just very nice. You can flip-flop between the two as you require. If you want to play more stealthy, you just basically are able to now play permanent tier 1 Meyer if you want. But you can also play sometimes more aggressive at your own desire instead of stupid stalking meter. Great changes here. I love it. Now we come to the more dubious part, which is once stalk meter is full, evil incarnate mode can be triggered at will, which I'm assuming is going to be the secondary power button, granting the following effect for a limited time. Note, survivors no longer become exposed, so you cannot insta-down them with normal attacks. So your movement speed is still 114, you will have a 40 meter tear radius, which is big as fuck, and then further increased vault speed, which we love, because vault speed Myers is part of the identity at this point, so we take that. It also unlocks the slaughtering strike ability. Basically what this says is, hold the power button to charge. It's basically a pig ambush, but you can charge it up while walking. That's basically what this is. It also seems to be slightly slower than Pick Ambush. But unlike Pick Ambush, insta-down, and it can destroy pellets. So you can see it here. You charge it up, and then bump. You get a big lunge. Now he was already injured, so it's not really a good show of the insta-downing. You charge it up, you lunge, and then stab, you down it. And you can let it go at any point, and like the further you charge it, the further you can dash. Or sorry, lunge. Sounds good enough. It's kind of a easy way out, but then again, I don't know what else you really could have done for Michael Myers to be both in character and fun, but also up to date with other killers. So I'll take it. I don't really have any other ideas for him, so we'll take it. It still has the ability to insta-down, so you still have that threatening factor. Being able to use it to break pellets is nice. And I like the fact that you can actually activate it at will, which is massive, instead of the 99ing that you could do now, which is very dumb, because it's just unfun for the killer, because, oop, too far, now you accidentally started tier 3 before you want it. And on the survivor side, it's like, oh, he's up by my ass, oh, and he's tier 3 because one of my other teammates fed him his stock meter. Unlocks the ability to grab and kill or perform a regular Mori on survivors who would die the next time they are hooked. Basically, you get base kit tombstone piece, but only if they are already on death hook. I will take it. It's very nice. You basically don't give a fuck about D-strike at that point, so survivors will be forced to D-strike early against you. Then we have adjusted some mechanics to the stalking, removing the limited pool of stalk points per survivor, which is great, meaning you can now just stalk forever and ever and ever, and you will not have to worry about your power running out, which was the dumbest mechanic ever. Reduced stalk range to 32 meters and remove distance modifier. That's fine. I think it was more fun before, but I also kind of get the distance modifier to where because before you had to like still walk up to like pop tier 3 and you already had a terror radius, so they would have a warning, whereas with this new system you can just stalk, be in stalk mode, walk up, and then trigger. You can basically instantly go from tier 1 to tier 3 right behind them, which is just unfun. So I get why they did this. Again, I am not the biggest fan of removing the distance modifier because that was part of the identity, but I can accept it. And then moving while stalking has increased movement speed compared to what it is right now, but it will incur a reduced stalk rate, so you don't move as slow while stalking, but you stalk slower. Which is a fair trade-off, which is a lot better than stalk at the same rate, but then you walk like a fucking rock. And then obviously reworked his add-ons, obviously. Which you do say something about one of the add-ons in here. We'll get there. So, Death Note. By moving away from linear Evil Within, we want to give the player more tools that they can use to adapt to each trial's unique situation while keeping the core of what makes him shape. Relatively successful, I would say. Slaughtering Strike makes for high threat offensive attack, offering up an insta-down opportunity with an extended lunge that's particularly effective in loops and for ripping through the pellets quickly. Very true, very true. We're gonna have to see how powerful it really gets. And then over here we have Understanding His Kit has changed quite a lot. We've done a pass on nearly all his add-ons, reworking many of them to offer more unique effects. Please don't remove Scratch Mirror. That's my only hope. Please don't remove Scratch Mirror. In particular, for those who prefer his old playstyle, Fragrant Tuft of Hair will change Evil Incarnate to function like old Myers, offering an exposed effect and no Slaughtering Strike, which is a great thing to be like, hey, we're changing this, but if you want, you can still play the old one through this. And I get why they went for Fragrant Tuft pair, because I think, if I recall, Fragrant Tuft is an iridescent, and I think that's the best thing to do for an iridescent, to where it doesn't exactly like dumb buff number go brr, but where it goes like, the playstyle has been changed. Which is kind of where I'm like indifferent about Eerie Hat, because on one hand it flips the playstyle of Huntress, but on the other hand it's also kind of Hat should go brr, and then so that's kind of, anyway, that's a different story. So yeah, I really like that, and then stay tuned for patch note for full details, obviously. So overall, I think this is a very good change. I think the modes are great. I think having the ability to activate your danger mode, like your super danger mode at will, is great. The lunge attack is kind of boring, but it's fine. I like the fact that it can break pellets. That's a big thing. And then just some quality of life to the stalking. Overall, pretty solid. Clown, they are basically reverting the changes they made, which is good, because I don't know how the fuck those changes made it through the PTB onto the live. For those of you who don't know, I am an avid Clown enjoyer. I love playing as Clown. I think it's very fun. Weaving his yellow and purple bottles together is very fun. Using his yellow bottles to traverse the map a little bit. It's great, but these changes were not it, and most of that was the first here. Increased activation time of Afterbe's antidote. Having to time the antidote created for some very great situations, very strategic moments, whereas in the new one, it's just like you plop it on your feet and you're good to go. There's no setting it up at the one end and then purple at the other and then double backing. There's no of that. It's just plop it at your feet and rush at the survivor. And then increased how long the Afterbe's tonic's hindrance effect lingers. This is another one where I was like, they nerfed this too hard, so I'm happy they reverted this. Wasn't really needed, but I do appreciate it as an avid Clown enjoyer. I would say W, but it's basically an inverse L at this point, because it shouldn't have been made in this way to begin with. The Unknown. Very simple change, is very effective, very nice. Increase the additional time added to weakened when injured by a UVX projectile. Just means you have more danger, more threatening levels for a little bit longer, which is great. Increase movement speed recovery after teleporting, which I'm assuming is like you teleport and then you go back to full movement speed faster, which is great because the teleport was a little bit sluggish. Increased camera vertical range. I don't know why it had such a fucking slight, like such a tight limitation anyway. And then adjusted several add-ons. Overall, just good changes. Unknown is happy. I mean, look at that smiley face. Who would not be happy? Look at how high I can shoot. I haven't actually read the Death Note. Unknown is largely considered to be fun to play as and against, and we want to preserve that while adapting the current state of gameplay. We've buffed the UVX slightly, while also taking what we learned from the animatronic to allow for orbitals, improving UVX aiming, and making for even more fun gameplay. Well done. It's also likely no surprise that Blurry Photo is the most used add-on for the Unknown, given the importance of speed recovery. To help create an opportunity for more add-on experimentation, we've converted a portion of his add-on into the base kit buff, while also doing a pass on other add-ons that are due for some adjustments. Mwah. Wonderful. This is like the perfect small, simple change, right? Then we get to Dark Lord, one of my favorite killers, I will say. I might be biased, but I also play a lot of Blight, so that kind of just saying that too for this. I play a lot of Blight and Dark Lord, so I don't really hold too much bias there. Anyway, Dark Lord. Vampire form, slightly reduced Hellfire cooldown, increases total Hellfire pillars by 1, both are buffs, and then we have 2 nerfs. Reduce Hellfire charge, movement speed, and then slightly increased slowdown time after casting Hellfire. Sure, I don't think this is gonna bother anyone. This is like slightly annoying at 1 or 2 loops, but this doesn't really matter. This might get some more cheeky hits in, and then this is just a nice buff. It's fine. Slight buff. It's whatever. Wolf Orb increased Pound's charge attack time, Pound's attack charge time, and increased Scent Orb spawn time. Small buff. I don't really think this is... Well, unless they really overblow the numbers, I don't think this is gonna matter much. Maybe the increased Pound's attack charge time might make you have to think a little bit harder in some loops, but not really that interesting. And then increased movement friction to make flying easier to control for the bat form, which, thank you, that thing was a fucking pain to control. And then obviously it just has some add-ons. The Ghoul. I like how they say medium update, and it's literally one thing. When grabbing a survivor on the other side of a vault with Kagune Leap, the survivor is released at the start of the Ghoul's vault instead of at the end. This basically prevents very cheap hits. That's basically all it's doing. It's a good change, shouldn't be a medium update, this shouldn't even have been possible to begin with. Yeah, so it's just like the clown. This shouldn't even have. We shouldn't even have been in a world where this has been a requested buff or nerf. Sorry, but here we are. And then we have the Oni, the last one, because perk updates is just update as various perks. We'll have to see what that means. The Oni, hooking survivor now spawns more blood orbs. Right now, I think it drops 2 or 3 blood orbs. Please just triple that. Just make it triple. Give Oni a reason to actually hook someone instead of just slugging or keeping everyone injured all game. This just needs to be a sizable number buff. So overall, I would say pretty good PTB notes. Again, add ability for survivor to recover while crawling. That's a kind of a red flag one that needs to be looked at. And then obviously give a quick buffer before you start recovering. This is gonna be very finicky. And then in particular these ones needs to be looked out for. But I think the ideas are here and they're good. But they really, really need to be tested in B2B, and the devs really need to listen to the tests to see if it really works as intended and cannot be like overblown or overused. Elusive is a good thing, Tome is a good thing. This is mostly good, kind of simple, but just good all around. This is good, this is good. This is good. This is good, and then this is good. So overall, it's very, very good patch notes. But it does need a like close eye to really get the sense of how key is it gonna be. So I just hope that the devs pay attention, the community doesn't cry, and we get actual feedback to actually make this work. And I just hope they don't overblow it to where survivors have a temporary god mode. That's all I'm saying. So, I guess that's where I'm gonna end it. So, thank you for watching, and please, when the PTB goes live, don't go crying murder, and just test it out and give proper feedback. That's all I'm asking. And behavior, please listen to the proper feedback and not the outcry of biased opinions. That's all I have to say.